Hello and welcome back. Today, we're tackling a question I get constantly from sellers and even from curious buyers. Why is it that when we look at the sales methods for properties, it seems like almost all the apartments and a huge chunk of the houses out in the Southwest are sold by private sale or expression of interest, not auction? The headline from my experience? I'd advise against auction for about 95% of these properties. That's not a random number. It's a conclusion drawn from years on the ground. So, let's unpack why the auction hammer, that iconic symbol of Melbourne real estate, often falls silent for these home types. First, let's set the scene. The two property types we're discussing might seem worlds apart. The high-rise apartment in the city fringe and the single-family home in a southwest suburb like Tarneit, Truganina, or Point Cook. But they share a crucial, market-defining commonality: abundant choice. This is Economics 101, the fundamental force of supply and demand. Take apartments. Melbourne CBD and its inner ring have seen an extraordinary construction boom over the past 15 years. We've created a skyline of options. While population growth is steady, the sheer volume of new and existing apartments for sale at any given time tips the scale. It's a buyer's market in that segment. The buyer has the luxury of choice, the power to compare, and the time to consider. Now, shift to the Southwest Villa. These are typically the product of Melbourne's urban expansion, the house and land package suburbs. A decade or so ago, these were paddocks. Today, they're communities. But here's the catch. The development model creates homogeneity. A developer releases hundreds of blocks of land. Buyers choose a popular floor plan from a selection offered by volume builders. The result? Street after street of homes on 300-400 SQM blocks, often featuring 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a double garage, and a single-story footprint between 180 and 220 squares. They are functional, affordable, and remarkably similar. So, for both the apartment seeker and the Southwest family home buyer, the market reality is high supply and significant product comparability. This is the foundational reason auction strategy often stumbles. To understand why, we need to grasp the psychology and mechanics of a successful auction. An auction isn't just a sales method. It's a theatrical event designed to manufacture competition and urgency. It works spectacularly well for a unique, highly desirable, must-have property in a tightly held suburb. Think a character-filled Victorian in Brighton or a renovated Californian bungalow in Camberwell. Those are what we might call blue-chip assets. Their scarcity generates fierce buyer competition. The auction model demands a captive audience of multiple, genuinely motivated bidders, ideally 3 or more parties, who, in the heat of the moment, push each other beyond their initial limits. The entire campaign, usually a brisk 3 to 4 weeks of marketing, is geared towards funneling all that demand into one tense 30-minute window. Now apply that logic to our two categories. If a buyer is looking at a standard 2-bedroom apartment in Docklands and finds 10 virtually identical ones for sale within a 2-block radius, what's their incentive to commit exclusively to your auction campaign? They have options. They can make offers elsewhere. Why wait 4 weeks for your auction day when they could secure a similar property via private sale next Tuesday? The same goes for our Southwest home. If 5 nearly identical homes are for sale in the same postcode, all with similar floor plans and ages, competition dissolves. Buyers simply move to the next listing. You cannot create artificial scarcity where there is demonstrable abundance. There are, of course, exceptions, the elusive 5%. A sub-penthouse with uninterrupted Port Phillip Bay views, or a Southwest home on a premium, oversized block backing onto a lake or reserve. These are scarce and can justify an auction. But for the vast majority, the lack of a unique selling proposition means auctions frequently result in a disappointing pass-in, or worse, no genuine bidders at all. It damages seller confidence and prolongs the sale process. Beyond competition, there's a critical legal and procedural barrier that turns many sensible buyers away from auctions: the unconditional contract. In a standard private sale, a buyer's offer comes with conditions, safety nets that protect what is often the largest financial decision of their life. For these property types, three conditions are almost universal. 1. Subject to finance. This offer is conditional on me securing formal loan approval from my bank. Given the complexities of bank valuations, especially for apartments, which banks can be wary of, and in newer suburbs, this is non-negotiable for most. 2. Subject to building and pest inspection. Crucial for houses, particularly in the Southwest. The soil in many of these growth corridor suburbs is reactive clay. Combined with the rapid, volume-built construction of the past decade, issues like slab settlement, plaster cracking, or waterproofing faults are not uncommon. A buyer needs the right to have an expert look under the hood. For apartments, this translates to a straight-up report review. 3. Subject to all fixtures and appliances being in working order. They want assurance the oven heats, the aircon cools, the dishwashers wash, and the windows lock. At an auction, if you are the winning bidder, you sign a contract immediately with no conditions. It's a high-stakes, high-pressure gamble that many buyers of these more utilitarian property types are unwilling to take. By opting for auction, a seller inadvertently filters out a huge pool of serious, qualified, but risk-averse buyers. Why would you, as a seller, want to exclude the majority of your potential market? We also cannot ignore the macro environment. The auction is a creature of a hot seller's market, when demand so radically outpaces supply that buyers are forced to compete openly. Melbourne's apartment market has, for the better part of a decade, been characterized by steady, but not frenzied, demand. It has rarely sustained the uniform heat required to make auctions the default successful strategy. The Southwest villa market, while growing, has generally been balanced to soft. Since the pandemic upheaval began over 5 years ago, this segment has seen stability rather than the explosive, competition-fueling growth seen in established eastern suburbs. In a balanced or buyer-friendly market, the aggressive auction tactic often backfires. It's like trying to light a fire in damp conditions. The fuel just isn't dry enough. So what's the practical takeaway? If you're considering selling an apartment or a Southwest home, how do you decide? Do your own detective work. Go to realestate.com.au or domain. Search for properties very similar to yours in your immediate area. Now look at the sales method. How many are set for auction? If the answer is very few or none, that's the market sending you a powerful signal. Follow the trend. The collective wisdom of dozens of other sellers and agents in your area is a valuable data point. Choosing auction when it's not the norm means you're swimming against a very strong current, and it rarely leads to a better outcome. The alternative, private sale, or expressions of interest allows for a longer, more flexible campaign. It lets you negotiate with all buyers, including those who need standard conditions. It accommodates the market reality of choice and gives you time to find the right buyer, not just the only buyer on a single Saturday. In the end, selling property isn't about adhering to a one-size-fits-all glamorous method. It's about cold, hard strategy tailored to your assets' place in the market. For Melbourne's apartments and its Southwest villas, that strategy, most of the time, points away from the auction podium and towards a more nuanced, buyer-friendly approach. It's about playing the odds that are already stacked in your favor by the market's own dynamics. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive, and see you next time.